country song is this? Man, play something else. Okay, better now. Hello! Sorry about the beginning. This video we're presenting is about The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Well, have fun listening and don't fall asleep. I'll be watching you.
Thank you. Hello, and welcome to TED Talk, a show where we will discuss and provide facts about a situation, books, theories, and other amazing ideas. We see the world as a big, healthy, and strong place. We're going to talk about a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Gladwell is an author, journalist, and sociologist that lives in New York and has been working with the New Yorker since 1996. The Tipping Point is a book about how Gladwell is introducing an idea to the reader and stating how it occurs more frequently than before and how little things can make a big difference. These little things can affect political and economic development of a nation. For example, like the stock market crashing or power wheelers ride. He also states that an epidemic is not only a disease that is spreading, it can be anything that is spreading dramatically. Gladwell proves that there will be a tipping point by using the 3 rules of epidemics and by giving examples through the book, with interviews, educational shows like Blue's Clues, and statistics. Now we are going to discuss the key aspect of each chapter and his arguments from the book. And now to my second colleague.
Gladwell starts off by talking about hush puppies and their impact from being small and no one knowing that it would cause an international fashion epidemic. From this point, he also gives an example of the New York crime rates and defines a tipping point with it. A tipping point is a point where it reaches the highest point and immediately comes down to nearly nothing in a short amount of time. He also gives 3 rules of tipping point, which are that contagiousness is necessary to start an epidemic, little things can cause a big effect, and how changes don't happen slowly but dramatically. He uses the example of yawning to define contagiousness and measles, and aids to prove the other 2 reasons and how it spread faster than other items globally.
The 3 rules of epidemics are the law of the few, sickness factors, and powers of contact. He states the most of the epidemics follow these rules and cause a worldwide phenomenon that will take time to recover. He uses the 8/20 theory to tell how only 20% of people do about 80% of their work, and the other just relax or don't bother on working. He explains sickness factor by informing the reader that things have a dramatic entry and memorable like diseases. The power of contact is where human beings are more sensitive to their environments than they should be.
Gladwell introduces his first reasons by using the words like connectors, magnets, and salesmen, which all identify people starting epidemics in different ways. Gladwell first starts off with the story of Paul Revere, where he was a connector, which means he had various connections, more than the average person. That caused an epidemic, which he relates to. He also interviews people to take a survey of how many people they are connected to and how their connection is a social skill that people have. Magnets are people who are scholarly, educated, and can influence others around them, of an abundance of information, which can cause people to join them. Salesmen are people who persuade others to buy their product, which can cause an epidemic of an item trending.
In this chapter, he expresses how the meaning of content can start a trend like songs or slogans that have a sticky-like phrase. He also explains how a little change in educational TV shows can increase the amount of viewers, which can affect the profit made. The children not only had to understand but remember what they learned on the TV shows. Its stickiness factor affected what the children actually learned and how it helped their educational development.
Gladwell talks about Bernie Goetz' life. Goetz was getting mugged by a guy, so he drew out his gun and shot him, and people consider him to be a hero. From this, Gladwell talks about how the New York crime rates are going down by people protecting themselves. Gladwell tells the reader that the crime rates is contagious by using the broken window theory, which means that in your neighborhood, if there's a lot of broken windows not fixed, then that area is known with high crime rates, while if the windows is fixed, then the crime rates are low.
In this section, Gladwell talks about the divine secrets of the Yaya sisterhood. and how it rapidly reached a tipping point. He also asked the reader how many book clubs there were. With the idea that book clubs, you can see that he's relating it to small items which can lead to big causes, like students reading a required book for school. The number 150 is the number that is needed to reach to become popular. To create an epidemic, you first need to start in a small group or movement, which will later lead on to bigger changes.
Gladwell introduces a case study of Airwalk shoes and how eye-catching graphics and crazy commercials created this epidemic. He also explains the process by which a rumor starts. The process of how a rumor occurs is leveling, sharpening, and assimilating, which occurs from transferring messages. Gladwell tells the story of HIV-infected needles. The needles were not thrown away, which was causing children to die at a dramatic rate. He calls this process as translating because it is moving from people to people.
Study suicide, smoking, and search for the unsticky cigarette. In this chapter, Gladwell argues that suicide and smoking is common among the youth because of peer pressure and the idea that it is okay to do something if someone else is doing it. For example, if someone thinks about running a red light and if the person sees another run the red light, they are more inclined to run the red light as well, even though they know it's wrong. Another argument Gladwell presents is that if a young adult smokes 1 to 3 cigarettes a day, it doesn't mean they are slowly getting addicted to nicotine. Through his intensive research, he learned that in order to get addicted, you have to smoke past a certain number a day, although it's not the same for all people. So the stickiness of cigarettes will no longer be sticky because of a daily habit or of having one or two, because nicotine levels will be lower than an addicted would consume. Conclusion: focus, test, and believe. Gladwell uses one more example of a nurse intelligently using her head to create a mammogram awareness epidemic while using only the small amounts of money and ideas she had to raise awareness. Simply changing the location, the type of people communicating the information, and the way the information was to be given made her goals flourish. Although not just that, he goes back and describes that word of mouth epidemics, the stickiness of information and the power of content go a long way. He goes on to say the just because it seems impossible to change the world with a little hope and a small amount of the way we choose to do the smallest thing, we can start larger epidemics that could lead on to something much larger, hitting an international level.
In the end, Gladwell relates these signs to a real-world example that is mostly used in every country, which is technology. He notes that technology first started small with small inventions, then started to spread rapidly and became more advanced throughout the years, and he considers it as an epidemic.
The author's argument is that little changes make a big difference and may cause epidemics around the world which will plummet to a tipping point. The argument he introduces is valid because he uses examples, statistics, and facts to prove his argument is true, and how all trends are little changes which reach a tipping point that will make a devastated effect on the people, such as he states in the afterword word, that the internet is small entity and now it causing people to enter the technology era by the advancement it's making. The detail he proves to prove his main argument is effective because he embodies ethos and gives his reader a feeling that he is supporting his idea with passion and provides a counter-argument which will help his argument to better inform the reader. The speaker is Malcolm Gladwell, and the occasion is him explaining what the tipping point is and using examples to define it. The audience is people who are unaware of how small things make a huge difference, such as epidemics like fashion trends. The main purpose of this book is informing the reader the idea of the tipping point and warning how small things can make a big effect. Also, stating how these small things can make a epidemic which will influence the people globally, like the advancement of technology.
We agreed with the author's argument because it's true how small things can cause big effects like wars, technology, and fashion trends, and they can be called epidemic spreading. He uses all these examples and explains them in a way where it makes sense to us. He provides examples like Paul Revere's ride and explains that if it wasn't for word of mouth epidemics, we would have never won the battle against the British. Gladwell also explained that without important educational TV shows being changed, like they were ever so slightly, we might not know what Sesame Street was, or Blue's Clues, and our academic learning rate would have not been affected the way it was. We also came to see that we also do immoral things like suicide, because seeing someone else do it gives us permission and tells us it's okay to do something immoral. The point is, he gives valid points and great understandable proof to why he feels this way, persuading us to also feel the same way that he does. That the tipping point occurs in everything, and in order to create one of our own, we must follow these simple rules of epidemics to make a change in the world, even if we see ourselves believe it's impossible.
Thank you for listening to our TED Talk about The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. We'll see you later.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Wake up! Okay, bye.